we'll have a lot of times to kind of discuss that some more. We're going to really get into that. But it was also some other really good topics that came out of this. And the other one is the same sex, which is, the same sex marriage kind of falls into a similar category as the legalization of marijuana, in the sense of people are against this whole piece of legalizing marijuana. And then we had a whole group of people who were against same-sex marriages, and now we have this whole vote that came up. So my question to people is, what is your view on, or do you agree with the legalization of gay marriage? And do you think that has any effect on what we may perceive as heterosexual marriage? Let's start with you.
It has no effect on heterosexual marriage. It's going to be very interesting. I just heard that the Supreme Court is going to take up a case on gay marriage. So I think that's going to be very important and something to really watch. I think it's really going to change how we go forward on this issue. The issue with gay marriage, and I'm much more of a libertarian, I would say, of that. I don't see what two people do in the privacy of their bedroom affects me. I feel as though some people may, and I don't disagree with people for religious opinions or something like that. My argument is not being anti your position, I'm being pro my position. And so, I'm a straight heterosexual male, and so at a base lower level, it's like, hey, more women for me. But on a more mature level, but on a very mature level, if I really sit there and I look at my friend, and I never forget this, I won't keep her name, but I won't say her name, but I remember we was in school, and it was just the same-sex marriage being overturned here, and so you think whatever, it doesn't really affect you. And she said, if that happens tomorrow, I'm gonna cry because I just love my girlfriend, and one day she's the person I want to be with. She just wants to start a family with her. She just wants to live an ordinary life. And the idea that if people that are in the hospitals and they can't get the same benefits and all these legal issues that go with two people who just love each other, who pay their taxes, who just want to live their life, that somehow we can intrude on that or, stop them legally. Morally, you have your own take or opinion, but legally, not give them legal rights, I just disagree with that. So.
To piggyback off of Terrence, I believe that the same-sex marriage is more of a civil issue. It's more of a moral issue for anybody to say that you can't have the right to do something that you want to do based off of one religion. I find completely unfair. Again, I feel like it's a civil issue. It's an equal rights issue. And by legalizing that, you're giving all people who are homosexual the opportunity to have the same legal issue, the same legal rights and the same equal rights as any heterosexual has, which I feel isn't unfair, because if I'm an American and you're an American, I pay taxes and you pay taxes, why can't I have the same right as you do?
I fall into a gray area with this as both a spiritual and a carnal man. The spiritual man in me can't support gay marriage in any aspect of it because my Bible tells me not to. My carnal man, on another thing, as Chanel said, I'm American. As Jefferson wrote it, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That being said, I can't fall either way on this. I can't seem to rationalize it one way or another. I will say this, that it's a complex thing, because for so long marriage was structured in one way. In the last few hundred years now, it's about equality. People making it about Americans trying to oppress other people. It's not about oppression. It's about them viewing it a certain way, and to make it to say that the country is taking on one religion and imposing on another, it's not really right. It's not about civil liberty. It's about the way the country views certain things. And Terrence says it's going to be taken up in the Supreme Court, but the ironic thing about that is federal law does not supersede state law. So this the 8 justices and the Chief Justice can say what they want, but there are certain powers that are still remained by the states themselves. So this may become a Supreme Court issue, but the states themselves will decide who gets married and who won't.
I think once again we've failed to understand policy. And policy is what governs all. And I say that because whatever your sexual predilection or orientation is, or whatever your civil rights position is, you must understand policy. I was one of the few who had the opportunity to submit testimony, and I was not for the law. I was not for the law because most people voted for the law out of emotionalism. They failed to read the Maryland Annotated Code. And any law that is developed to protect only two groups and not foresee how it impacts the population as a whole is wrong. We got suckered, and I say we because I'm part of society, we got suckered into the aspect of the church. However, as a social worker, my profession is being able to refer people based upon their need. So if I'm an African American woman who is not able to facilitate a gay family to the best of my ability, and I look to refer that to a specialist who can, by the LGBTQ strategy, I am wrong, and they have created a litany of legal cases throughout the nation because they thought they were going to lose legislatively. And I am against that. I am against that because I reminded the legislators in my testimony that it was Bayard Rustin, an openly gay community organizer, Martin Luther King, and Asa Philip Randolph, who were able to pull off things such as the March on Washington. So my position with them was that you should not pass this law the way it is because you're going to have more things to come up out of it, and you need more discourse. We as professors and people who can come together on these type of agendas can come together around this type of what I call lack of brick and mortar issue. I think it's important for us to have this discourse because if I am a person who is gay and I work for the police force or the army, my survival in my profession that feeds my family and my life depends upon my colleague. Do I want a colleague defending me or not defending me because he was forced to by the law that he didn't agree to, or because we had a discourse to explain to one another how each other's are? I think we need to get past these politicians you so eloquently talked about early, because I have had experiences with these politicians, and you're right. When you get behind the door, they don't serve you. You need to serve you, and you need to have these conversations with one another. As a Christian, unapologetically, Christianity to me is like being pregnant. You can't be a little bit pregnant. You're either going to be a Christian fully or you're not. So I don't pick and choose God's law. However, I do believe the law that he places in the Bible that tells me not to judge. So that means that I can have a valuable conversation. My last comment is that I believe the church failed in this because you cannot pick the splinter out of your brother's eye when you have a plank in yours. Homosexuality in the church has been there a long time. We failed to deal with it, we villainize it, or we put it in secret pockets as if we didn't have to deal with it. Now, if God was wise enough to understand since the beginning of the time homosexuality was going to be, we need to be wise enough on how to embrace it. So, and when I say embrace it, embracing it does not mean I have to do the same things that you did. So, that's my position.
And this is a good conversation, and I think just coming out of hearing both sides, do you think that we're still having this discussion based on emotions?
Yeah.
And we haven't moved past the emotions of it to having some real conversation?
I definitely believe that it's an emotional topic. It's an uncomfortable topic. It's a topic that people would like to sweep under the rug because it's something that people aren't used to, pretty much. But in the end, my belief is that I feel that everybody should have an equal opportunity to do what it is that they want to do, because at the end of the day, everybody isn't a part of the Christian faith. You know, everybody is a part of these religious backgrounds on which we base some of our reasonings behind. So for me, I feel like it's an equal issue. Why is it that if I'm gay, I want to marry a woman, but I can't do that because a law says so? But if if a man wants to marry another woman, that's okay simply because he's a man. I feel like that's just completely unequal. I mean, I just think that it's unequal. Emotions and everything to the side, I just think that it's unequal and it's unfair if I'm a citizen who has to pay the same taxes and abide by the same laws as someone else does.
And that argument has been an argument that people make when we talk about equality
Right.
and laws, but then we also get into all these other laws that affect other people besides just the law around gay marriage. There are other laws that people feel that are unequal.
Right.
So that's an argument that people make across the board. And I think with us starting to have this discussion, because this is a discussion that we're starting that's just based on the elections. This is just straight from the elections. But the young people came out to discuss these issues because, I mean, it literally brought them out. They literally came to vote because these were issues. And because I feel that, piggybacking on what Sister Stacy said, because the church did not start the conversation.
Right.
Unfortunately, we let the political system start the conversation. And I think that's where we failed in getting this discussion going. I think it's the beginning of a wonderful discussion that we will continue, but for right now, we have to move into other parts of Youth Truth. But I'm going to let you, you have a 5-10 second speech, and then Jamal, you can have 5-10 seconds, yes.
Now, I was just going to say, we have to stop voting at the level of our emotions, and we have to read what people are putting before us. If it is that we truly, and also this being of a particular age, we fought so long to get Uncle Sam out of our bedrooms. I just find it ironic that we want to put them in charge of our bedrooms now. So, I mean, I just come from a perspective of people change people. You have to have meaningful dialogue, and if you acquiesce and give it to the politicians, they're going to do what they did.
And just lastly, say, Chanel was talking about equality and about the country being dictated by such religions. I'll say this last comment. Despite what the Constitution says, America is a religious country. They are a dominant religious country. Everything from the Constitution to the politician has God in it. So there's no way to get around a religion that has dominated the politics since the country's founding. So it will always be a part of how they structure laws.